So again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our peer connections on cannabis. Can it help? I would like to begin by acknowledging that we live and work on the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations across Turtle Island. While we meet today on a virtual platform, we must recognize the importance of the land and our treaty agreements. We acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territories of all Inuit, Métis, and First Nations peoples. As our Spinal Cord Injury Ontario community encompasses many geographies, we ask that everyone take a few moments of their day to find out which unceded or treated territories you may live and work on. You can use the link www.native-land.ca to learn more. So my name is Julie. I am a peer support coordinator for Spinal Cord Injury Ontario in the London region. I don't think you can see my coworker Jaspreet, but she's kind of doing the behind the scenes of this peer connection. She also is a peer support coordinator in the Toronto region. So as I had just mentioned earlier, we are going to be recording this session. So again, if you just want to make sure that your videos are turned off, if you do not wish to be seen, and we will keep everyone on mute throughout the presentation just to cut down on the background noise. Again, as I mentioned, we do encourage you to ask questions or feel free to share your own experiences. You can use the raise hand feature located, I think, usually at the bottom of the screen, or we'll be monitoring the chat feature throughout the presentation as well. So I just wanted to let everybody know we don't have any medical advisors or cannabis company reps on this call. So today's peer connection is just strictly about peers sharing their experience with cannabis and how it has helped them. So if you are looking to try cannabis, please consult with your doctor for any medical advice or any other questions you might have as it pertains to your situation. So we've got a few peers on the line that are going to share their experiences with cannabis. The first one I'd like to introduce you to is Rick.
Thank you, Julie. Yes, my name's Rick Waters. I don't know if I'm showing up on camera because I don't see it myself.
You're there, Rick.
I'm there. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm currently the manager of the peer support program. So I work with Julie and Jaspreet and a whole team of peer coordinators across the province. And I started out as a peer coordinator. So I really love what the peers are doing, and I love these peer connections. So I'm really thrilled to be part of it. I had a spinal cord injury when I was 16, back in 1978. So it's been coming on my 46th year as a person with a spinal cord injury. And I've seen a lot of changes over the years. I can remember when I first had my injury, I was in St. Mike's. I was in there for 9 months. And one of the things to do in our community, in our my new community of people with disabilities, was to meet at Emerge and toke for a little bit to relax. So that was kind of my early experience as a person with a disability, kind of experiencing it right at the hospital. But later, I really didn't use cannabis much after that, and till a friend introduced me to this spray, a type of spray in a canister, and you just spray it under your tongue. It had no THC in it. It was all cannabinoids, and this stuff like relaxed my body like nothing I've ever experienced. So I knew it was like better than any medication I had ever taken. And I have a tremendous amount of muscle tone. So a lot of my muscles are switched on most of the time. So it's a real relief when I can get that level of relaxation. So I looked into it, and it turns out that concoction and to get that medical formula that I would have benefited from was way too expensive for me. Like it was hundreds of dollars, and to be maintaining that would not be sustainable. So I ended up later in life, because I'm a father as well, and I didn't want to be a bad appear as a bad influence on my daughter. I abstained from using marijuana, and then after a while, I got together with a friend and I tried it again, and it really relaxed me. Just smoking a joint really relaxed me. So it put me into that relax mode that I experienced before with the cannabinoids. So I thought, this is awesome. So I was doing it just a little bit, and not visibly, like no family members knew. And then I started getting a little bit more comfortable, and I would do it in front of some relatives. And one of my because I was kind of hiding it from my daughter, one of my relatives said, that's kind of hypocritical to be hiding it from her. Don't you think you should come clean? And then there was an incident at the high school where my daughter was called out for being in a group that was smoking a joint. So that she was kind of outed before I was. So I felt okay, this is the perfect chance to have a talk with her and say, I use it in moderation and for this purpose and so forth. So we had a heart-to-heart talk, and I told her that, she wasn't in trouble for doing it, but I had concerns for her health, and that was it. And we reached an agreement that we would both be moderate users. But what I've found is that as I've aged and I've been using it for a while, I've had to up the dosage, like the amount of THC. Now, when I started out, like I could probably smoke the weakest stuff and be high as a kite. Now, I'm on to like between 20 and 30% THC on the dry weed, and I vape sometimes the oils with that are like 80 to 90% or something like that. And it does the trick. And I can use smaller doses, but I can't go back to the low doses because they don't do anything for me. It's unfortunate, but that's the case. But what I did start switching to for health purposes is edibles. So we make our own edibles at home. In fact, we just buy stuff like you can buy shred, or you can buy like the small buds that mix packs of small buds that are really cheap. Like you can buy them in bulk, super cheap. Grind it up yourself. If you're into making butter, you can make butter. For me, I just ground it up into almost like a powder and put it in with the brownie mix, and away I go. And to me, that really helps me. I only use the edibles at night because they are so strong, and it's hard to really control the dose. So I know that the worst that's going to happen to me is I'm going to fall asleep. So I have it at nighttime in bed, and it gets me through the night. So that's my story. I'm just I consider myself, I guess, a moderate user, and I'm kind of off the medical track. I'm not really in a medical stream with it because it's expensive for one thing, and I just find that I'm still kind of experimenting with what I like and what I don't like. So, and I have tried some of the topical stuff like roll on and stuff like that. Not much, but I'd love to hear if other people have had success with things like the sprays, with roll-ons, anything like that.
Rick, I just have a question. What do you use? Like you mentioned relaxing. Is that sort of the main purpose that you use it for? Like, do you find it helps with spasms or?
Yeah, like for me, I have like I said, I have tremendous amount of muscle tone that's kind of switched on most of the time. And I have spasms all mixed in with that. So It's mostly the relaxing. I find it's a good stress reliever. I lead a really busy life, and when you do that with the spinal cord on top, spinal cord injury on top of that, it can be, you can, for me, I get anxiety at times, so it helps reduce the anxiety for me. And I know some people, it's the opposite. They feel anxious when they try weed, and so it's different for everyone.
Does anyone have any questions for?
I'd, li
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead, Pablo.
I'd like to answer, I'd like to add something to Rick. So first of all, I'm going to tell you about myself, Pablo, paraplegic since 1987. I was 14 when I had the car accident. The first time I used cannabis was with what we called the vets, which were the guys that were in wheelchairs longer than us.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I felt my legs when I smoked cannabis.
Really?
Yes. And after that's, I got hooked mentally because I liked the fact that prior to smoking, and it was just some regular Mexican cannabis. I live in Texas on the border, actually, currently, and I was raised here. I moved to Vegas, then California, so I learned a lot about cannabis, and I did learn to make byproducts. On the brownies, I actually also ground the fiber, the twigs, the stems, because
Right.
that helps as fiber to keep us going, moving, especially since we're sitting paraplegic quads. I wanted to add to, gosh, now I forgot what you said, and it's because I'm not smoking. I have to like be smoking, and my memory will come back. But I was 14 when that's happened to me. As I continue using it, I myself use it. It raises my spirits. It helps to mask the pain, just like any other pill, medication. It'll mask the pain. It doesn't take it away. And I enjoy it for the full spectrum there. And what I would suggest to you, Rick, is to change cannabis flowers, because each flower has different chemicals. So even though you think, oh, I have to use 20-30% THC, you might use less THC, and it's like microdosing.
Right.
But change the flower. You could change from one store to the other, whoever's producing it. You want to try something different. And I would just say experiment with it, because of the fact that every body, the chemistry in our brains are different. So I could use one flower, and you could use the same one, and we will definitely get different effects. Digesting it from all the, I've been to educational talks. I did hear from two individuals saying that when you ingest it, it actually creates two other chemicals in our body. Our body works like a, gosh, the word just left me, but it does something with the cannabis that as you ingest it, your body will create. I don't know if I think it's the liver that when it's processed through the liver, it then creates these two other chemicals that I wish I would have known we were going to go exactly into the subject matter so I could tell you what two chemicals. But the ingesting it is going to help. Even, how it's very strong, you can microdose it, like start microdosing in the sense that instead of the full cookie or brownie, whatever way you want to make it, I prefer always using the full flower, because there's medicine in that flower. Yeah. I'm sorry. Even the leaf of the flower, if you know anyone that grows, I've used that to help me to overcome calcification of the pancreas. It was killing me back in 2005. And I met a woman that did Reiki healing, and she was the one that asked me, do you smoke cannabis? And this was in Vegas, so it was medically legal then. And I did say yes. She said, start growing it like microgreens and eat the leaves. like spinach, you could warm it up and eat it like spinach, or you just chop it up and put it in your food somehow. But that the full plant has benefits to it. It's just that we haven't, I don't, we don't have enough people doing the research on it. I'm fascinated by what Israel is doing with cannabis. They're creating byproducts that are much better for their people. And there's one thing that they make that's a dissolvable tab. You put it on your tongue, it dissolves, and you get the effect of whatever flower it is that they use to make it. They called it the vault. I believe it's called the vault in Israel, where they do all this research with cannabis. I do see that some can cause me to have anxiety. It will make my heart race. All I do is get up. I can eat, drink water, just have some movement, get around. I see the benefit of this working together with other therapies, talk therapy, physical therapy, and or just socializing. I find cannabis to be a great socializer. I've met some incredible individuals in my life through the use of cannabis. Just it helps people share. People will talk when they're feeling good. I definitely see it as a pain stabilizer because, like I said, it doesn't really take it away. And I've seen benefits of it when it comes to medical. The spray that you're talking about, I used to make it for the vets in California. What we do, and my grandmother used to do this. I learned it from her. She would get some flour, some herb, and put it inside the green alcohol. I think it was because it had what is it? It just menthol. There's menthol in the green alcohol. She would put it in there, let it sit for a month, and I learned that recipe for her. You can use that topically. Is that what you meant, Rick, by spray?
No, I think what you're describing is a tincture, which I've had as well, where you drop it, you'd use an eyedropper and you drop it under your tongue.
No, this is topical. This
It
is
is.
topical, correct. It's
Okay.
and what I did is I used spray bottles. I put these alcohol with the bud. I left it together in the spray bottle, and I spray it on my leg where it burns the most, where I have the worst neuropathy, and it will give me anywhere from, depending on the pain and the weather, 30 minutes to an hour, 2 hours of no pain on that area, and it's topical.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I'll have to start sharing these recipes. I don't know why I haven't
I
before,
think
but
the one Rick was talking about is Sativix. It's a synthetic spray. Is that the one you were talking about, Rick?
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
oh, I've heard of it. Okay, what have you tried it, Oda?
I have, but someone in the comments, Brenda, mentioned there's something that's covered and it doesn't work as well. And I agree. That's the Sativix. It's a synthetic cannabinoid, and it does help to an extent, but in my experience, it pales in comparison to the CBD from the actual flower.
Yeah.
I concur. Yes. Organic is always organic in the sense that once they start processing it, it can get stronger. I have my California cookie. I mean, I shouldn't be giving you the brand, but I buy that brand, but this is a generic one, and it works just as well as the other ones. It's marketing. When it goes to growing your own flowers, as I used to grow as well, small quantities, personal use, and I learned a lot about, as I met other people in Las Vegas that were in the cannabis culture. I learned more from them, but I've even been told to eat the little bud directly like that, just chew on it, and that'll work as well. I did try it, and yes, it did work. And you're correct, Rick. It does last longer as you ingest it,
Yeah.
and in any form. I'm not a butter maker. I would rather take it all in. I was raised in the old ways. I'm Apache, Native American,
Yeah.
and my both sides of the family had information to teach me. And like I said, my paternal grandmother taught me the alcohol, the marijuana, and the alcohol,
Yeah.
and the other grandmother taught me about how plants are healing. And
Right.
the weird thing is that, well, excuse me, the part of that education, just learning from oral tradition, it was it stayed in the brain much better than reading it, because it's coming from someone you love. And cannabis was never looked at as a bad thing in our family. As a matter of fact, my maternal great grandmother, in her ranch, she used to grow cannabis for the employees. So after they were done working, they could go and grab some, and they'd roll it like this. For some reason, she even told me they roll like this, and they'd get the dab, and that's what they would smoke. They'd put it in their cigarette. And we're talking about 2019. 47 is the year she was telling me that this was happening. And even during prohibition times, I was, my great grandfather, maternal great grandfather, he used to bootleg. He used to make the alcohol in Mexico and bring it into the United States. And it's for our family, it's not taboo. I've met other individuals that, you even mentioned THC or CBD, oh, you're a drug addict.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you have some cool grandparents. Uh,
Thank you.
it's my dad that was the gatekeeper in our family. He was determined that if any of us smoked, we were going to be in trouble, and I got caught first. But for him, marijuana was a gateway drug. So he figured that if we tried marijuana, we were on to coke and heroin and all the other stuff. But
That's kind of it's
it's
kind of
not the
similar
case.
to me, Rick. For me, it's very cultural. Like, cannabis is seen like as a hard drug, and
Yeah.
hash is seen as a very hard drug and a gateway. So it's interesting how stigma has evolved. Even in Canada, like 10 years ago, if you were to smoke cannabis, it was, it was illegal, and you were doing something illegal. And we've come a long way now in Canada. I think we're really ahead in the world for what's available. There's a lot of dispensaries everywhere. It's very easy to access. Yeah, it's night and day compared to before. And real quick, you mentioned this, Pablo, with the oil. Like, I used to smoke a lot of smoke the cannabis.
Hmm.
Now what's available, because especially that it's legal here, there's a lot of research that has gone in, and there's the quality is absolutely amazing. So I get these cartridges,
Yes.
and
Yeah, same thing I've got. Yeah.
some of them are, they come in all sorts of, like, you can get CBD, which helps with pain and spasms and relaxation, but it has less psychoactive materials. So throughout the day, I'm vaping CBD, and I find that helps my symptoms. I guess,
Oda,
yeah,
sorry, I just want to interrupt you for one quick sec. Do you want to just let people know your injury?
right. I was about to say,
Yeah, because I do want to hear from
introduce
you for sure.
myself. Yeah, my name is Oda. I have a C6 complete injury. Like Pablo, I was injured young. I was injured when I was 11. Um, yeah, and I work at Spinal Cord Injury Ontario as an info and resource specialist. I'm also a speaker for the Rick Hansen Foundation, and I do comics on Instagram about my disability-related experiences. Um, so yeah, throughout the day, I'm vaping CBD, and I find that it helps my symptoms. My main symptoms that cannabis helps with is spasms. Spasticity throughout the day is it's a big problem. So that helps me the most. And the other thing is pain. And then there's some supplemental benefits, like it helps with anxiety, it helps with mood and things like that. So those are the reasons that I use cannabis. And like I said, my main method is vaping CBD. But now I'm also getting into, there's CBN, which helps with sleep. And I don't know where everyone's located, but I'm in Ontario, Canada. And if you're in Canada, a lot of this is available just on the Ontario Cannabis Store. And it's legal, it's free delivery. It's quite amazing, and you get so many specifics, like I was saying, throughout the day, CBD, so that I don't get too high, and I get the benefits. At night, I do CBN so that it helps me sleep. And sometimes I do THC because it's very fun. No, but it also helps
Yes.
with, you know, I went to a conference in 2019 for pain and spinal cord injury, and there was a cannabis specialist who said that you need a little THC for it to activate the CBD. So that's why it's really helpful to have the website in Ontario, because you could search for the specifics, the percentage of the CBD, THC, or whatever you have, what have you. What about you, Pablo? What do you, if I may ask, what symptoms does it help as it relates to your spinal cord injury?
Like I mentioned, the first time I used, I felt my legs. For some reason, it also depends on how strong the flower is. It helps with the pain. It doesn't take it away. It masks it. I enjoy what they call the full spectrum. I'm sure you know what that is, and that will come from smoking the full bud. I have in Texas, there's certain chemicals that are legal. It's not like in California and in Las Vegas. I was just in Las Vegas for my birthday, April the 4th, and I went to dispensary, bought a quarter for $30, quarter ounce for $30. And that was very strong stuff, especially because I've been smoking what they have here in Texas. So in Texas, they sell hemp, cannabis with a very extremely low THC level, but they also sell the vapes as Delta 9 and Delta 9N. It's interesting. I hadn't heard about this until I moved till I came to stay with family in Texas. The THC making me feel great. I love that effect. It turns on my creative side. I also had a head injury along with a spinal cord injury. I lost 20% of my brain from the impact. They told my mom that I would be very slow. The word the doctor used back then in '87 was retarded and a vegetable, pretty much living my life in bed. I find that using the cannabis, because I had less pain and because I was in a great mood, I've been more active in life when I'm using. When COVID happened, the access to cannabis was not as easy to get. And that's because I went from moving from Los Angeles, California to McAllen, Texas, which I'm right by the border where you're hearing all these bad things happening about walls and such. Well, they're building these walls not too far from where I'm staying. And here it was seen as a stigma, even when it was legalized in Texas. People see marijuana as a bad thing because it's associated with cartel violence as well. It's not.
I wanted to ask you, you travel a lot. How do you arrange for your cannabis when you travel? Is that a factor in where you travel?
This is how I do it. Hey, what's up? You smell nice. And it goes from there. And it is a factor because if you think about it technically, I'm in their country and I'm maybe breaking laws because
right. You always got to be aware of the legalities of where you go.
Always be careful. Don't bring attention to yourself. I mean, these are just things that I've learned as a teenager that I've applied throughout life. I mean, I'm 51 now. And yes, as you were talking about me traveling, people see us in chairs and they know somehow they know we have pain. And they always ask, hey, do you smoke? I'm like, yes, I do. Do you know where I can find it? Oh, yes, I do. And it turns into one of those things. So Amsterdam is legal, so you can go like dispensaries like you can in Canada. California
starting to be
has
more and more legal everywhere, which is great for persons like ourselves who use it medically. And just real quick, I wanted to read some comments. Is that okay, Julia?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, Julie, sorry. So yeah, Ron Duffy was mentioning, I take 2 milligrams CBD at 8 and 2 at THC, and I don't get high, feel nothing, but I'm able to sleep. And yeah, that's great. And you're doing what the doctor that I listened to said, you're mixing the CBD and the THC, and it seems to be working for you. So it's definitely worth looking into if you're, and talking to your doctor. Make sure you talk to your doctor first and foremost. And ask your doctor, like, I can't sleep, or whatever your issue is, and how can cannabis help me? And for Karina, she asked, do you still take medical solutions like baclofen, or is your CBD use instead of? For me, my medications are at a point where they're supplemental, so I do take baclofen, but a very low dose, like 10 or 15 milligrams a day. And I use that in conjunction with the CBD and the cannabis. So all of that helps me. Before I was using cannabis, if it's just the baclofen and the medications, it was much, much higher doses. But for me, this is what works, and this is a good baseline where I'm happy. I'm not taking too much baclofen where I feel fatigued or dizzy or whatever the side effects are. It's a low amount that works in conjunction with the CBD or whatever I'm taking. And I have a family doctor who I have a discussion with about regularly about the medications that I'm on, and how it interacts with cannabis, whether I'm feeling fatigue throughout the day, and we tweak things as necessary.
And just to add on to that, Oda, just from like my experience talking to other peers, I know it's like some people have been able to get off their medication because of CBD, and some have tried it and it doesn't work. So I feel like it's a real trial and error, works for some and not for others. So
It
yeah, like
either works, it doesn't work, or like myself, it works in conjunction with. But either way, it's worth it. It's worth trying and talking to your doctor.
For sure. Okay.
I'm with
iPad
Oda on
3.
that.
Sorry, Pablo, I'm just going to get to this question. So iPad 3, go ahead. You've got your hand raised. Sorry, there's not a name.
Yeah, I was about to say that's an
Is that for
Name is
me?
iPad.
I think so. Is your hand raised?
Yeah, I had my hand raised. My name's
Yeah.
Wayne. How you doing?
Yeah, it's you.
Go ahead.
Oh, good. Okay. I just wanted to ask if anyone's had any experience with synthetic THC or Nabilone capsules. I'm 63. I broke my back surfing in Mexico in 1987. So I've been in a chair 37 years. On top of my spinal cord injury, which is T3 complete, the fella that actually saved my life and dragged me out of the ocean tore the C5-6 nerve root in my left arm. So I've lost the use of my bicep and the 3 pectoral muscles in my shoulder, although I still have a tricep, and below the elbow, I have full use of the hand and full function, like dexterity and everything. So I guess I'm kind of considered half a quad, is what I was told in that regard. But I get extreme pain in my left shoulder with the muscles that don't work, and then whatever's there. So I've really found that the synthetic Nabilone has actually helped me sleep at night. I take 3 milligrams in the evening, and I take 1 milligram during the day. I also use cannabis and have found edibles to be very good. I mean, we have a hard time trying to convince anyone when you're ingesting it through smoke that it's good for us, right? It's not good for our lungs. We all know that putting anything into our lungs isn't very good, and edibles is certainly an option. But I have found that I'm quite concerned about some edibles now. Just prior to this meeting, I saw a advertisement for edibles up to 1,500 milligrams of in an edible, and no wonder people are greening out, and especially people that have not done cannabis are ending up at emergency wards because they don't know what's going wrong with them. So I have to put the caution out for people when you're talking about edibles, to let people know if they haven't eaten before that it's a go slow type of thing.
Yeah, for context, in the cannabis store in Ontario, they've designated 10 milligrams per edible. That's the max. So what you were talking about, 1,500, that's a lot. But also for the record, there's never been a case of overdose. And but if you were to take that much, it wouldn't be a fun time.
No, I mean, people end up greening out, right? You know,
Right.
they just don't know what's happening. So,
Well,
you know,
we had a couple of cops that got into the edibles after a raid or something like that in Toronto, and one of them had to be talked out of a tree, and they both had to go into therapy afterwards. So they were pretty messed up.
And to answer your question, Rick and I have had experience with synthetic. You can talk to about your experience, but mine about synthetic, as I mentioned, it doesn't help me as much as the non-synthetic. So it doesn't work for me, but I'm glad it does work for you. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I really and am interested in experimenting with the real cannabinoids, because I'm not sure the one that I took years ago, it was in a medical bottle, and it had the dose and everything on it, but it's been so many years I can't remember what it said, but it was either cannabinoids or synthetic cannabinoids, and it just was like just a couple of sprays under my tongue, and it just relaxed my body after about 15 or 20 minutes. So I found that was that's kind of really encouraged me to pursue other parts of the plant. Like I enjoy the THC, and the THC does relax my muscles. It does help with the pain as well. But also, I don't use anything during the day. I don't use it when I'm working. So sometimes I'm just kind of struggling through a day, and by the end of the day, I'm looking for relief. So I like what I'm hearing from others, that there's some alternatives that we can use during the day that won't get us high, but will keep us functional. So that's great to hear.
Okay.
Rick, I do believe that if you were to, like I mentioned earlier, microdose,
Yeah.
do just a small, if you use one of these vapes like Oda and I use, the refillables, just do a microdose, a small hit, and experiment on your days off from work, see what happens if you do it in the morning, during lunch. I don't know if they would allow you to, I don't know how it works at work where you're working. But when I was in Las Vegas, my boss recruited me. I was working at one place. He recruited me to go work for him. And he knew that I was a cannabis user. So I actually had an office in the back of the office where I was allowed to consume my medicine and still work. I loved that job. That was a really good 3 years. And the one
That's
thing,
level accessibility accommodation. Wow.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
that was very forward thinking, because this was back in 2008 when I started working with a gentleman, and he was cool with it. He didn't consume, but we were in the industry, film industry, so somebody does something in film industry always. So he was cool with it. He knew that I went and I consumed. I would have my drink, and I'd get to work, and I could focus on working for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, because I was feeling great in the brain with the THC, and the body was relaxed. So he understood my pain. I was very I communicated with him clearly when it came to that, because I'd tell him, hey, there's days that my pain's so bad I may not want to go to work. And he told me, you can work remotely. This was before remote working was popular. He and I were working. We worked together for 3 years, and I worked for his company. But I say he and I because I didn't. The plan was never to work for the company. I just got pulled in as full time. And the one thing that I will say is that I think it's important for us to have some sort of communication. They don't have to know all of our truth at work. But it would be great if people had time and access to partake in your medicine. This is what it is for us. You have your smoke break like they did in the old days for the cigarettes, and you get back to work. I did see myself as a more productive individual when I was partaking, when I was smoking. And I'm not an edibles person, I will use them at times because, like you said, they are stronger. They last a little longer. But I prefer ingesting it as in smoking, not gummies, not I've seen lollipops. There's all kinds of way that you can ingest. But I think it would probably work, in my opinion. Like I said, we're not doctors. We're just sharing our own personal experiences. I think you may get a benefit of microdosing during the day, so you
Right.
don't have to be waiting for, like, you're chasing the dragon, like they talk about opiates. You know, you're chasing the dragon. You're almost chasing the green dragon. Puff, puff the magic dragon. You know, you're waiting for that moment when
Yeah.
you could be doing micros during the day, and you might find better productivity out of yourself. That's my personal opinion. I
And
don't know
just
what
real quick,
Oda would
guys,
say on that.
no, I think that's a great opinion, Pablo. And just a quick extra information. This doesn't apply to you because you're in Texas, but for those of you in Canada, if you're a veteran, it's covered under the Veterans Affairs Canada website. If you go there, you could see it's considered a condition under chronic pain, and you can have, I think, most of it covered under the plan. As for non-veterans, you can claim medical cannabis on your taxes in Ontario. But it's under certain conditions. It's tax deductible. There's a threshold you need to meet, but you can deduct, I think it's something like minus 2,600 or something like that. But you should look into it and ask your accountant, because it is an affordability issue, but there are some options out there. And lastly, there are some large dispensaries. I won't name any, but some big medical cannabis companies, like, you could look into them. And they offer what's called compassionate rates for those on disability, if you were to become a member and order directly through them. So that's 3 quick options for you guys. And we can talk to the question there, Julie.
Yeah, that's okay. And thanks, Oda. That's good information. I actually didn't know that. So Courtney, I do see your hand up. I just want to quickly read. I don't know if anyone's keeping track of the chat box, but there was a question a bit ago of, does this also reduce your dose of nerve medication? In my case, it's pregabalin. So Oda did respond in the chat from his experience. So this is very case by case. You have to talk to your doctor, try it and see if it works. For some people, it does work. For others, it doesn't. And for those like myself, it works with some medications. I am also on pregabalin, and I was able to reduce my dose, but that's my experience, and yours may vary. Then there's just some comments to that. And then someone had also mentioned that they tried the Nabilone.
Nabilone.
And it did work for them. And there is another question. Does anyone not, okay, so actually okay. Before I get to that one, let's just go to Courtney's question, and then I will come back to pose the question sort of to the audience that's in the chat box. So Courtney, if you want to go ahead with your question.
Hi, sorry. Of course, the moment that I get called on, my cough starts picking up here. I am an incomplete spinal cord injury patient from T6 to T10. So I do have the use of my legs, and I had a spinal cord infarct, which caused my spinal cord injury. My question was, I have a lot of nerve pain, which we've talked about. I have a lot of twitching at night with pain, and then it also creeps in just when I've been busy during the day standing or any of those other things. Like, my legs are not completely healed. I never will be. So it's a complicated situation that way, because I'm sort of stuck in the middle. And chronic pain places don't seem to get it, that you can't just go once every 6 months for a treatment and be done with it. So I'm trying to find something. This has been very informative. You guys have helped so much. I've been using a lotion type oily cream that I get at the Reserve, and it's fantastic. It has a fairly high level of THC in it, as well as, like, it's based in CBD, and it smells wonderful. It's lovely. It's nice and gooey and fantastic, and it does help. But I've been breaching the line of I can't smoke. I just can't
Right.
for other reasons. But I'm like edibles at night. Is that like how long does it take for it to sort of dissipate from your body? I mean, I guess it's based on how much you take, but I don't want to be in a position where I can't go to work the next day.
For me, Pablo, I know you take edibles. I'd like to hear your take. But for me personally, I don't really dabble with edibles anymore because it lasts a long time. And
Too long.
for lack of a better word, there's a hangover. So
Well,
let's say it
that's
lasts 14
yeah.
hours, and the hangover is very pleasant, actually. It's makes my body feel,
Oh,
yeah, it makes my body feel very relaxed, and it's great. But like we've been saying, it varies person to person. But for me,
yeah.
I only take edibles when I'm in extreme pain and it's a weekend, and because I know it will affect me the next day. And it's not the effect won't be bad, but I wouldn't want to go to work feeling very, loose and relaxed the way it would make me feel.
That
So
makes total sense.
I would recommend starting with very, very low doses. Obviously talk to your doctor and see how it affects you. How has it
My
affected you, Pablo?
Yeah, my doctor is so anti anything other than trying these pain clinics. And I've got to tell you, like, I'm losing my mind with pain clinics. They don't get it because I'm not in a wheelchair. And total respect to those that are. It just, they don't understand that I'm sort of, like I said, I feel like I'm stuck in the middle. I identify as nowhere. Like, so it's kind of
Disability.
complicated. Like
An
you
invisible
have a spinal
disability.
cord injury, but you don't look like it. And, like the old white men on the street that yell at me that I shouldn't be parking in the disability spots, but I can crash at any minute. So I'm stuck and waiting for pain clinics to do anything is so damn frustrating.
Yeah.
Um, so that's like, I'm just trying to figure out what to do so I can go back to work.
Yeah, and I
Courtney,
I can speak to the hangover effect too. Like I do get that, and like Otis was saying, it can be a pleasant feeling. And for me, I have like a 3 hour wake up process in the morning, like 3 hours to get ready. So I
Yeah.
pretty much run through my hangover during that time, and so so but definitely if it's going to have a lasting effect, I would like really back down on the dose or look at a different method. But Pablo, you might have something that you can share as well.
I just
uh,
wanted to answer that part, sorry, before you go on, Pablo. The question that I don't actually have a physiatrist anymore. She's too busy teaching.
Wow.
So I have a family doctor. I can't get in to see the physiatrist that I was assigned to before I left rehab.
I'll get you. That's okay. It's so you have a lot to ask, and it's really crazy. But I'm gonna try to reach this book while other people are talking because I'm currently I have a wound that I wound. I sat on a toilet in Germany, and it gave me a wound, so I'm having to deal with that while we're talking, and I'm not in a wheelchair. But I'm gonna reach for this book that I read. I've gone through, and the one I talk about was, and I keep bringing it up, is a full spectrum. And I know Oda, you asked about the edibles and how they work for me. They work great, but again, it's the hangover the next day that it's how much you take, and that's why I do always recommend microdosing because you can always add to it. You can't take away. If you take a large, milligram, um, I would always suggest to anybody to microdose, quarter it, or depending on what it is that you're ingesting. But her case is different because she's dealing with the fact that she's got the spinal cord injury, and now she's impacting it because she's walking. So she's causing more neuropathic pain, I would think, in my head.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I just I'm like Rick. Since '87, I've been in a wheelchair. I've been a paraplegic head injury wheelchair user. I have met quadriplegics and paraplegics that were ambulatory. The quadriplegic didn't have much control of his hands, but he was ambulatory due to the fact of his injury. Um, there, gosh, there's for your situation. Have you? I mean, I would suggest trying to get a massage therapist, somebody that can help you with that. But in your situation, if I was you, I would, because you're not smoking, consume it. They do sell candies as well. Not only, I mean, the edibles is full range. You can find anything that you prefer. They make it. If you want chocolate, they have chocolates as well. But again, microdose it because of the fact that you can control it in that sense. What I would say is if, microdose.
Pablo, I have a
Yes.
quick question about the microdosing, and I am aware of the time, so not that I want to rush anyone, but there's a couple questions in the chat box too, but
Yeah.
how do you microdose with gummies? Because don't they take so long? Like once you've eaten some, don't they take a while to kind of kick in? Like
They take 45
sometimes like
minutes.
an
I mean,
hour, so how do you know when use
that's what
more
I
of
was
it,
gonna
not working?
say. It's going to be something that you're gonna have to do at like a scientific process. You are the patient. You're the person you're experimenting on. So you make your notes. All right, I bought a gummy. It says this many milligrams, and always try different products because different products will have just different effects. I've had that experience, but the microdosing is just cutting it up in pieces, just as the same thing you do with pills. You can cut it in half. You can cut it in a quarter. The that's how I microdose. It's just taking less of whatever the product is. And yes, I mean, we're impatient, but even a regular pill can take anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour in order for it to kick in, that the flower is doing. But it's a lot of information.
We can do that.
And
Yeah.
Can I add
I
to
just
the
wanted.
we have a
okay.
couple of questions, but I know, Bill, you had your hand raised a couple of times. Did you have any quick question, Bill?
Oh, sorry, Bill.
Oh, we lost them. Come on, Bill. Come on, Bill.
Back. No, I was just going to add something. I think it was she answered it for me. She said she couldn't get back to her physiatrist because the physiatrist would be perfect for her.
Okay,
I'd like to answer a question for Courtney too, if that's okay.
Sure.
With microdosing edibles for the first time, you want to make sure you're with somebody who has used cannabis or has used edibles just in case. And then what you want to do, if a regular dose is 10 milligrams, cut it down to a quarter. You take a quarter of it and then you wait at least 2 hours. That's the golden rule. Wait at least 2 hours. If you don't feel anything, get up, move around, maybe go out, get some fresh air in the window, move. Very important because a lot of people eat them, they sit, they're dominant, and then all of a sudden they get up and that's when it hits them really hard. So you want to make sure when you're eating it and trying it for the first time, do that tiny dose, a quarter of a dose. Make sure you're with somebody who's professional experience with marijuana, and then wait 2 hours before you take that second microdose to make sure you're trying to find your own level. And you want to have like a 48-hour thing. So if you're going to work the next day, you don't want to be trying edibles. So you want to wait till it's like a Friday, and then you can do it over the weekend. So you have at least 48 hours to see how it does react in your body. And here's the other thing. A month. And after a month of you trying it, then you can really base, okay, this is for me or this isn't for me. And I recommend that with anything, like even pills that you're trying from your doctors, herbs that you might take. A lot of people use kratom leaf, which is like an opiate. Without having to take the pills, you can take the opiate leaf, kratom. It's from the coffee family. And then they use that with the marijuana. So it kind of helps them get off the medications a lot as well. So I just thought I'd add that for
thanks
you.
for adding.
Thank you. I don't know if you saw in the chat box, Oda mentioned you have a great radio voice. And you do.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go backtrack to one of the questions a little bit earlier because this is kind of posed to the group, I guess. So they were just wondering if anybody here does not use cannabis and is thinking of using it. So if you are comfortable to unmute and let anyone know if you're new to cannabis and just thinking of it.
I obviously haven't tried it. I'm working on it. I've tried like I said, I've tried the lotion on my legs and it's fantastic for that, but everybody knows nerve pain here and it doesn't cut it. Everybody knows twitching here and it doesn't cut it.
All right.
So actually, Courtney, that's a good segue to thank you to another question that was in the chat was, has anyone had success with creams or lotions?
Yes, with both.
Sorry, Pablo,
As a matter.
Bill's got his hand up. If we can just I'll let him.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay.
My wife has CBD creams. But myself, as far as spasms go, we grow cannabis as well, and we grew some last year. The strain was sangria, and the sangria strain is specific to spasms. It's one of the strains that it's commonly known that it's good for spasms. And first few times I tried it after coming home from the hospital, I found that it really helped. So just to put that out there, if you can find one called sangria, it's a good strain for spasms.
On that note, real quick, if you are getting into it and trying CBD, CBN, there's so much to look into it. There's different strains for pain, different strains for anxiety. So there's a lot to look into. Yeah.
Okay, another question. Sorry, and I'm not trying to rush. If everyone, I mean, I'm okay to stay on a bit longer if everyone else is okay as well. So question for everyone, does your physiatrist help or is your family doctor more open?
For me, my family doctor, because I have a better relationship with my family doctor and he's known me for quite a while. My physiatrist is also open, so I can talk to either of them. But for me, my family doctor has been more helpful.